The iPad incident, a mother's ordeal and a police overreaction. Vanessa Brown, a 50-year-old mother from Cobham, Surrey, is speaking out about a harrowing experience that left her feeling traumatized and utterly bewildered. Her story highlights a stark disparity between the perceived severity of the offense and the overwhelming police response, leaving her questioning the proportionality and professionalism of the Surrey police force. On March 26, 2024, Brown's life took an unexpected and deeply distressing turn. A seemingly minor incident, the temporary confiscation of 2 iPads belonging to her daughters, escalated into a 7.5-hour ordeal culminating in her arrest and detention in a police cell. The alleged crime? Stealing her own children's iPads. Brown's account paints a picture of escalating misunderstanding and an alarming lack of empathy from the responding officers. Her intention, she explains, was purely pedagogical. Seeking to encourage her daughters to focus on their schoolwork, she temporarily took possession of their iPads. This seemingly well-intentioned act, however, triggered a chain of events that spiraled wildly out of control. Surrey police, tracking the iPads to Brown's mother's house in Cobham, initiated an investigation that culminated in Brown's arrest. The subsequent hours were a blur of bewilderment and escalating fear. The image of a mother, separated from her children, held in a cell for a perceived theft of her own children's property, is jarring and deeply unsettling. The experience Brown describes was profoundly traumatic. It was unspeakable devastation and trauma, she recounts, her voice still laced with the shock and disbelief of the events. The sheer disproportionality of the police response, she insists, was staggering. At no point, she explains, did they consider the possibility that this was an overreaction. A simple conversation, a quick visit to my mother's house for a cup of coffee, that would have been a far more appropriate response. Instead, Brown found herself facing a situation far beyond the scope of the alleged offense. The arrest, she asserts, was not just disproportionate, it was conducted with a disturbing lack of professionalism. The officer's interaction with her elderly mother, she recalls, was particularly insensitive and deeply upsetting. They spoke to my mother, who is in her 80s, as if she were a criminal, she explains, her voice filled with a palpable sense of injustice. The subsequent bail conditions further compounded her suffering. For an extended period, she was prohibited from contacting anyone involved in the investigation, a restriction that cruelly separated her from her own children, the very children whose well-being had prompted her initial actions. This added layer of isolation intensified the trauma, leaving her feeling utterly alone and abandoned by a system meant to protect and serve. The case was eventually dropped, with Surrey police acknowledging that Brown was indeed entitled to the iPads and that her actions did not constitute theft. Yet, the lasting impact of this ordeal remains deeply felt. The emotional scars, the shattered sense of trust in the authorities, and the lingering sense of injustice are profound and lasting consequences. Brown's story serves as a potent reminder of the importance of proportional responses in law enforcement. It raises serious questions about the training and sensitivity of officers, and the need for a more nuanced approach to situations that do not warrant such heavy-handed intervention. Her experience underscores the human cost of overzealous policing and the devastating impact it can have on innocent individuals and their families. This isn't merely a story about 2 iPads. It's a story about a mother's fight for justice and a call for greater accountability and empathy within the law enforcement system. It's a story that demands to be heard.